Agriculture Minister Dr. David Aswick says he wants to meet with Prime Minister Frundle Stewart on Friday to discuss the country's economic growth strategy. Dr. Aswick says, as chairman of the Infrastructural Committee, he has asked the Prime Minister to chair that meeting. According to him, government now needs to go after multiple medium-sized projects instead of just looking at 2 or 3 major ones. Dr. Aswick says for years the public has been hearing about several projects starting which are yet to begin, but he says this is not always in government's control.
We are dependent upon persons coming to Barbados and putting their monies in Barbados. So that we can't control how fast they do it. We can't control some of the other variables that may result in several of the projects that we were supposed to get off the ground in operation.
Dr. Aswick was speaking during a DLP St. James South Branch meeting at 4th Avenue Wanstead Terrace last evening. There, he also revealed that Cabinet approved financing for the multi-purpose sugar factory. He says officials are hoping to break ground on the factory in June or July. Dr. Aswick says the ministry is also looking at financing the Barbados sugarcane restructuring project. The Agriculture Minister says he will reveal more details on the plans for the sector this week, and in particular the sugar industry. Dr. Aswick says the state of sugar in Barbados needs to be discussed as other farmers are waiting to proceed with major plans, and he gave one example.
I had a gentleman come to see me where they're producing, want to produce 250 acres of onions in Barbados. They're producing, they're investing their own money, putting in their own drying facilities and so on and so on. And they're concentrating on the domestic market and export to Guyana and export to Trinidad because they don't produce onions. So we got a massive export capability. But what they said to me was very simple. They were not going to do anything until they knew how much of their lands they need to rotate with sugar.
More support today for the stance taken by the principal of Harrison College against students coming to school with certain natural hairstyles, this time from her counterpart at the Parkinson Memorial School, Jeff Brooms. Last Friday, the Education Minister Ronald Jones gave his backing to HC Principal Juanita Wade, who came in for a lot of criticism on social media over her stance. Mr. Brooms explains why he believes Miss Wade made the right call, saying he supports her decision on 2 grounds.
One, that's the regulation. Those are the regulations. And 2, those are agreements between the ministry and the principals. So I don't have a difficult, I don't know how we can just have something in front of us and as a teacher or principal takes action. Everybody has a friend. And the rule of law goes through the window. I will never live my life like that. It was never brought up like that.
Mr. Brooms gave his take on the situation during a special ceremony at the Parkinson School. This morning, a number of students were inducted into the Royal Parkinson Center of Excellence, a virtual honor roll for top performers at the school. The school also launched the Monica Kafense Scholarship Program, named after the first head girl of the school, Akelia Monerville. The former head girl in 2010-2011 school year is the first recipient and will be using the funding to study at New York University. Mr. Brooms says these are among several initiatives to promote academic excellence at the school, as he aims to raise the pass rate of students doing CXCs to above 50%.
Every child, it's not going to happen, every child should be doing a minimum, as far as I'm concerned, with 3 CXC certificates, and that would give a better gauge. There are some who can be doing 5 and 6, no problem with that at all. But the focus is we should never have a situation where children come right through school and go home without doing a single, being given a chance to write a single certificate. And it's been happening, and it still happens here this year. Something I'm trying to correct.
2 Barbadian nationals are to reappear in a St. Lucian court today after being held attempting to smuggle drugs out of that island last week. The couple, Richie Bonnet and Maria Shepherd, was allegedly nabbed while attempting to board a Liat flight to Barbados with 2.8 kilos of what is believed to be cocaine in their possession. Police say the drugs have a street value of 84,000 EC dollars. Bonnet pleaded guilty to 3 charges of possession of controlled drugs, intent to supply to another, and attempt to export controlled drugs. His female counterpart, Shepherd, pleaded guilty to possession of controlled drugs and not guilty to the other 2 charges in that case. Local lawmen are today appealing for witnesses to come forward with any information as they continue investigations into the island's first road fatality for the year. The accident occurred last Wednesday afternoon around 3 o'clock at the junction of Bennett's and Sandy Lane Road, St. James. As a result, 76-year-old Dennis Wentworth Linton of Barracks Hill, Christchurch was seriously injured and he later died at the QEH. Investigators want anyone who may have witnessed the accident to call the Whole Town station at telephone number 419-1700 or 1701 or the police emergency number 211. Her strength despite her illness helped Kiana Banfield overcome a challenging time in her life. This, coupled with the prayers, love and support from her friends and the Blackman and Gollop Primary School, showed the family the country was with them. Kiana, now 10 years old, was diagnosed with acute toxic shock syndrome. The illness took a toll on the 10-year-old's body and she now wears a full body and foot brace. To show their support, student staff and the PTA of the school all pitched in to raise funds, with some of the little ones even giving up their snack money to assist. $1,000 was raised in all. Kiana's mother, Keisha Banfield Best, says her daughter will not let anything keep her back. She says she was there with her as she restarted her schooling after treatment in the U.S.
She does play well at school and function well at school. The ministry had asked me to maintain her at school in respect to her blood pressures and heart rate and whatever. And after maybe a term of going to school with her, she asked me to leave. Yeah. She says, "Mommy, you hover. I can't have you checking my blood pressure 6 times a day. I'm going to be fine. My heart's not going to drop out on my chest or anything. Just go home and make yourself useful. Find something constructive to do."
Ms. Banfield Best adds that she ensures that the family is there for Kiana every day.
Treatment is continued therapy, which is what I help her with in the evenings after school. Some mornings, if she's very stiff, I'll have to give her a good working out, stretching and massaging and stuff. Other than that, all we're really doing is trying to find out what caused all of this in the first place, because we still don't know what caused all of this. We know that she came down with an infection. We don't know why her body, her immunity didn't pick up to fight it off. We know that the infection caused different issues, hence the enlarged heart and the poor heart function and kidney failure and all of that was caused by the infection, but we don't know what caused the infection. We don't know what caused her body to break down to the point where she couldn't fight off the infection.
And we're back after the break with a look at regional and international stories.
Kids, speak up against abuse.
It is not acceptable for you to be abused in any manner.
From your parents, family members, or peers.
You have the right
To refuse
the abuse.
report it to anyone.
Guidance counselors,
doctors, teachers, or even your neighbors.
anyone who can help
Speak up.
against abuse. Speak up. Speak up.
Speak up.
Speak up.
Break the silence. Child abuse is one secret you should never keep.
I'm in control of my world. My world is the same every day.
Every minute, my world seems to get a little smaller. My world is driving me crazy.
My world? What world? If your world is controlled by alcohol, there is hope.
We're AA, alcoholics helping other alcoholics get sober for more than 70 years.
You'll find us in the phone book, your local newspaper, or on the web at aa.org. Alcoholics Anonymous.
In Trinidad and Tobago, officers from the Homicide Bureau will decide what action to take following an autopsy on the body of popular media personality Marcia Henville today. Henville, 51, died in a fire at her home in St. Augustine around 6 on Saturday morning. Her body was found in a bedroom of the house by fire officers. Henville shared the home with a close male relative and her 2 children who were at home at the time of the incident. Her children were not injured. The relative, who is warded at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex in Mount Hope, Pope suffered first-degree burns to his arms and legs and is reported to be under police guard. Neighbors say they heard an argument taking place inside Henville's home at the gated community shortly after an explosion was heard and the fire started. Henville struggled with personal issues. She recently confided to close friends that she was fearful for her life. In a post on Facebook, her attorney Fulton Wilson said she was due to sign and file divorce papers sometime today. News further afield now. Extreme weather is on the way for major American cities, including New York and Boston. The National Weather Service says the potentially historic blizzard could dump up to 3 feet of snow on the U.S. northeast coast. New York's mayor said the storm could be the city's biggest ever, telling residents to prepare for the worst. More than 3,000 flights have already been canceled.
We could see a meter of snow here in Boston as well. The mayor is very confident. He says we've been through these blizzards before. We know what to do. So they have about 700 trucks ready to go with salt, and they are going to be on the roads in full force. In fact, we've already seen a couple of front loaders already pass by. You know that they're just staging and getting ready. We could see just a couple of centimeters of snow early this afternoon. And then late tonight into tomorrow, that's when we're expected to be hit the hardest. You can see those snow already on the ground. They had a snowstorm just a couple of days ago. Temperatures have stayed well below freezing, so none of it has melted. And we're expected to see, like you said, up to a meter. Could be up to my waist. We could see snow drifts above my head when you add in those winds at hurricane speed, 120 kilometers per hour possible. And so it is going to be whiteout conditions across all of eastern Massachusetts, including the Cape. And so driving is going to be almost impossible. People are urged to stay home. They have been urged to hit the supermarket and get the essentials and also gas up their cars as well as generators. Power outages will be a huge concern, and temperatures will be well below freezing for days to come after the storm passes. Not to mention, Christy, the travel nightmare that the East Coast, the rest of the country, and then that ripple effect across places in the rest of the world because of this snowstorm.
Tell us more about anticipated damage that could be caused. You're anticipating power cuts because of this historic storm. What about damage to property? What is expected here?
Yeah, we're talking about power outages. This is expected to be a lot of snow in a fast amount of time. So we could see snowfall rates several centimeters within an hour at a time. And so we're going to see the possibility of power outages. On top of that, when you have winds gusting at 120 kilometers per hour, we are expected to see a little bit of structural damage as well. In fact, some people around Massachusetts are boarding up their windows just as they would a hurricane. So we are seeing people make preparations. They are taking this very seriously, and I think that the message has been sent that this is not just your everyday storm. This is something that you really need to take seriously.
The far-left Syriza party, the winner of Greece's election, has formed an anti-austerity coalition with a right-wing party, the Greek Independents, and the party's leader has taken the oath as the new prime minister. He has vowed to renegotiate Greece's bailouts worth some $268 billion.
The Commission fully respects the sovereign and democratic choice of the Greek people. We are ready to engage with the new government once it is formed. Greece has made remarkable progress in recent years, and we stand ready to continue assisting Greece in addressing the remaining reform challenges.
So the European Commission, they're recognizing the progress that Greece has made in the last years and being willing to talk. We've also had some first indication that the ECB is also willing to listen. The QE that Mr. Draghi announced just recently is also likely to be helpful if Greece does take part in it in the end. So some indications there that there is a possible middle ground, but it's really too early to tell how Mr. Tsipras is going to handle things and then how the Europeans will react.
So a lot of caution right now being expressed by EU leaders, and if Europe does not want to negotiate further, does Alexis Tsipras and his coalition government have a plan B for Greece?
So so far, they're not willing to even talk. They're not willing to discuss a plan B. I've put this question to several of their senior members. You know, what if Greece does not, what if Europe does not want to talk? What if Europe does not want to negotiate and change these terms? What are you going to do then? And so far, all I keep getting is there is no plan B. The negotiations are going to take place, and they feel that they have such a strong argument that they will be able to succeed. But very early days for that.
The final moments of AirAsia Flight 8501 are still a mystery. What is known, however, is that investigators say the crew struggled with heavy thunderstorms when the plane crashed into the Java Sea last month. CNN's Kim Long went into a flight simulator to give a glimpse of what those moments may have been like.
Right now we're flying the Airbus A320.
And you have flown this plane before?
Yeah, that's right.
So many times over his 35 years with United Airlines, the retired pilot Dan Duke has lost count. We're joining him in an A320 simulator, the same airplane as the doomed AirAsia Flight 8501.
Would you say that most Americans have been on this plane if they fly?
Oh, if they fly much, they've been on it. It's an easy airplane to fly. It's an easy airplane to train.
A state-of-the-art, computerized plane, so smart it can correct a pilot's mistakes, but not all of them.
You guys hold on to your hats.
We're asking Duke to fly into the sort of storm cell AirAsia encountered.
Which is exactly what they did. They turned to the left to avoid the thunderstorm.
How fierce are those thunderstorms?
Picture yourself on the worst roller coaster you've ever been on and multiply it by 10.
And so this is what they were experiencing.
That's right. Much more like this. You see the 6,000 feet a minute.
Climbing at 6,000 feet a minute, out of control and beyond the plane's normal capacity. Something forced the plane up.
What's happening to in the cockpit?
In the cockpit, there's tremendous confusion.
And you can feel the plane slowing down now.
You feel it slowing down?
Just before the fall.
Feel that bump?
They're not flying anymore. They're just falling.
We're dropping. We're doing 12,000 feet a minute
We're
down.
just dropping. Oh, yeah. Was that a crash?
That was a crash. Excessive G-force. Pulled too much.
It happened before I even knew it.
We were doing 15,000 feet a minute down. That's about what they were doing when they disappeared off the radar.
In most of the scenarios he runs, the autopilot corrects any sudden climbs or dives.
Here's the stall, and we're saying, oh, gee, we're going slow. We need more power.
Surviving a stall, something an A320 pilot trains for. Duke says whatever happened to AirAsia, he can only guess it was so violent, the pilots and the passengers couldn't get out of it.
They were very uncomfortable. They're probably very scared, and there was nothing they could do about it. They were very helpless.
What he can't capture, the sheer terror of the human beings aboard AirAsia Flight 8501 and the grief and the sudden loss of all of those lives.
And the Lunchtime Sports Package is up next with Sean Green.
This girl likes me. I really like her too. But nobody knows I am HIV positive. I'm afraid to tell anyone. They will treat me like an outcast.
Discrimination does not protect against HIV. It hurts.
It really hurts when people treat me like I'm nobody just because I have HIV. I never thought HIV would affect my life in this manner. All my friends, family, and loved ones turned their backs on me. I was lonely, isolated. I was literally cast out of my village. One thing I have to tell you, discriminating against me doesn't protect you from getting HIV. You need to protect yourself. Use a condom every time, or abstain